So a football field has an area of 360 feet squared. The length is 3 times more than and 6 less than the width. What are the dimensions of the football field? So we have to define two variables. So it's going to be L equals length, and then we're going to have W equaling width. Since we have our two variables, we can make two equations. So it's going to be, the first equation is going to go off of the formula A equals length times width. So since 360 is the area, we're going to go 360 equals length times width. Our second equation is going to go off of the sentence, the length is 3 times more than and 6 less than the width. So it's going to be L equals 3W minus 6. Now, since we already solved for a variable, we can replace that L in the other equation's L spot. So it's going to look like 360 equals 3W minus 6 times W. So we're going to first multiply that out. So it's going to be 360 equals 3W squared minus 6W. And then we're going to have to create this equation equaling 0. So we're going to have to minus 360 from both sides, equaling 0 equals 3W squared minus 6W minus 360. And now we can simplify that out before factoring, and we can take a 3 out of everything. So it's going to be 0 equals 3, and then it's going to be W squared minus 2W minus 120. Now the next step is to factor W squared minus 2W minus 120. So we're going to have to first find two numbers that multiply to 120 but also have a difference of 2. So I already found it, and it's 10 and 12. And since it's a negative 2, we're going to have 12 being negative since it is a bigger number. So we have our equation, and it's 0 equals 3W squared minus 2W minus 120. And we already figured out the two numbers, which are 10 and 12, with the 12 being a negative. So we're going to do W squared minus 12W, plus 10W minus 120. So we can couple those up, so it'll be W squared minus 12W plus 10W minus 120. So where you can take a common factor out of each, and the first one's going to be the W, so it'll be W minus 12, and then we can take a 10 out of the second one, so it'll also be W minus 12. So then we can make that equal to 0, so it'll be 0 equals 3W plus 10, and then times by W minus 12. Now since we have it all factored out, we can make everything equal to 0. So the first one's going to be 3 equals 0, and then it'll be W plus 10 equals 0, and then the last one is W minus 12 equals 0. Now since 3 cannot equal 0, we can just cross that off, and then we can solve for the next two equations. So we can minus 10 from the first one from both sides, so it'll be W equals negative 10, and then for the last equation we can add 12 to both sides. So then we get W equals 12. So since a measurement cannot be negative, we can cross out the negative 10, or W equaling negative 10, so our answer is W equals 12. So now we can plug that into the very first equation, which is 360 equals length times width. So then we'll have 360 equals length times 12. And then we can divide 12 from both sides, making the length equaling 30. So now we have both of our answers, so we're gonna go L equals 30 feet, and then we'll have width equaling 12 feet. So the problem is now solved.